All right, welcome in to Shooting Hoops in the Boot. Just wrapping up the Bootheel Conference tournament, guys. How are y'all doing? We got Charlie Duckworth and Chris Brown. Charlie D, what's up, my man?
I'm finally catching up on some rest. It took a little bit. I'm finally getting to lay down and go to sleep, be happy. It was a long week for us, but it was a good week. It was a really great week to see. It was good for obviously you two because Portersville and Hayti won a conference title. I sat there and watched that happen.
Charlie, they say you win some and you lose some, and I wouldn't be too sad if I was you, but just like you said, it was a long week, and man, it culminated into a great ending, a great finals night, and I'm just ready to talk about all of it, Mark.
Yeah, for sure, man. What a great tournament we had, and special shout out to Cena Torresville administration and school system there, man. They did an excellent job on hosting that tournament. All right, we'll talk about the girls first, guys, and we'll start back on Monday, which we didn't get to talk about last week on the podcast. Monday game, we had a Portersville and Hayti matchup and a Holcomb and Malden. Portersville and Hayti first, Chris, so that was a 1-4. Your Bulldogs come away with a victory and moved on to the championship game. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it was, the first of two of just not much exciting basketball as Portersville just had too much. Give kudos to Hayti. Aubrey Hall done all she could to try to keep them in it. They had one of their other guards hurt for Hayti. That hurt them quite a bit. But, Portersville just showed why they were the number one seed in that game, as they had a little layoff, as most teams did. And, they didn't have very many hard practices, but Portersville just come out and showed why they were the one, and they had an easy time with that one. And Elise Hickenbottom, she's a junior for Coach Kelly Fowler. Man, she had a big semifinal game as Hayti, did a good job in trying to stop Glow Farmer, as most teams do. So they just had an easy time, Mark. It wasn't very, very pretty game, but, it just is what it is, and Portersville wins, and they moved on to the semi.
Yeah, I know after the first quarter was kind of tight, man, and kind of sluggish. And then Portersville just got rolling in that second, third, and fourth quarter, man, and just put some distance in and show why they're the number one seed. And then the other semifinal, we had the Holcomb Hornets, who pulled the upset in the first round, beating Campbell, taking on the Malden Green Wave. That was a 2-6. Charlie, give me some thoughts on that one. The Green Wave ended up winning it and moving on to the championship game.
Yeah, Malden won it 76-41, and it was a game where you could kind of tell it was the 2 versus the 6 overall. I mean, this was a game that started off kind of close. Taylor Hardcastle for Holcomb hit a couple good threes. Ava Gurley also for Holcomb hit a couple good shots, but it was just the Malden came in. They were the more ready team. They were inspired. They were ready to get to that next moment. And I mean, Carly Cobb and Carson Cohen, both those two are a dynamic duo that can't stop. And Malden still has a year left with them too. Cohen is a junior, Cobb's a sophomore. So, I mean, think about how they're the 2 seed right now. The cards could fall in a way that they are a potential 1 in these next 2 tournaments.
Yeah, it is a dynamic duo.
It sure is. That game was pretty impressive as Malden, they had 4 players in double figures in that one. Of course, Carly Cobb and Carson Cohen, who's always leading the charge for Malden. But, and they did what they had to do. Coach Ty Miller, his adjustments were key in that one, as Holcomb gave them all they want. Shout out to Ava Gurley. She done all she could to try to keep them in it. And Landon Hodges as well, who had a lot of rebounds in that game. I think about 8 or 9 rebounds in that game to try to keep Holcomb in it. But once again, it was just too many horses for Holcomb, as it kind of turned out like we all thought it was going to be, set up the Portersville Malden final.
Yeah, go ahead and lead us into that one, Chris.
Well, that one was a tough one.
Yes.
What a great game, though. These teams have played each other, last year, maybe 2 years ago, where this thing started. And let me get to my paperwork here. Of course, we did mention Coach Ron Riddle on the air. Always think about him, especially when Malden and Portersville play each other. Because he's
Right.
good
Tied the boat.
and one of our good friends. And it was tight. It was of course the last time they played, Malden had a 1-point lead against Portersville when they were at Portersville in the regular season. And it was, Malden had went to the break in this one up by 22-20. What a defensive battle. I talked with Coach Kelly Fowler after the game about it. But the third and fourth quarter, that was the key as well. Actually, it was 30-30 in the third quarter. The fourth quarter was the key as Elise Hickenbottom had about 10 points in the quarter. She ended up with 19. Glow Farmer, she had 5 in the quarter. Malden just only had 5 points in the fourth quarter as it was 22-5. And that was the difference. Portersville is a 4-quarter team, guys. And they can turn it on normally in the third and fourth quarter. And they did exactly what they had to do. As a Portersville fan, I was worried, and I think I even mentioned to Charlie, we were sitting beside each other during the late in that game. And I just looked at him and said, I can't believe this. It's so tight. But, championship teams do what they do. And they just turned it on in the fourth quarter. It was too much Hickenbottom, too much Glow Farmer. And, Coach Kelly Fowler won her third, and the Portersville Lady Dogs won their third Bootheel tournament championship. But they didn't have an easy time doing it, and they earned it. But congratulations to them.
Yeah, you mentioned Chris that we were talking in the break. I was going to mention that because you were in that third quarter. You were like, okay, well, this is not the expectation here. And then that fourth quarter, it kind of sat in, and they kind of went on that big run. And we looked at each other, and I remember just saying, this is a team that's obviously been there and done that. Malden's a team that's been there for sure, but they've not been able to go over that hump of Portersville yet. It's kind of like their white whale that they keep on chasing is Portersville. And the Bulldogs just have that championship pedigree. They have that punch of the past 2 seasons, making a Final Four last year. They have that allure to them. And it showed in that fourth quarter.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and reveal our girls all tournament team. There we have it right there, and it is loaded with talent. Could you imagine just all them on one team, man? You got Carly Cobb out of Malden that Charlie mentioned with Cohen, the dynamic duo, along with Thornton on the big side. She had a big championship game, man, down low, made a little difference. Ava Gurley out of Hawcom, the old sharpshooter. Gabby Townsend, of course, for Campbell. In the only game she got to play in the tournament, she had 17 points in the loss to Hawcom. And then that's the game where Gurley had 15. So, and then Haley Jamerson, guys, we didn't get to see much of her in the tournament, but man, what a ball player she is. She scored 30 in the losing game against Hayti. And that Kalia Jones, she scored 27 in that game. And then, of course, Aubrey Hall of Hayti. Elise Hickenbottom with Chris turned it on down the stretch in the championship game of that fourth quarter. She just took over. And then Glow Farmer out of Portersville. 1 point shy of 1,000, man. We were sure cheering her on, hoping she would get it. And that would have been awesome to get that in a championship game of the conference tournament. Tori Saxon of Portersville. And then Malia Duckworth of South Pemiscot. She had 19 points in that loss to Malden. And kept the Bulldogs close a little early, but of course Malden ran away with it. So congratulations to those ladies there. Charlie, any thoughts on the all-tournament team?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very talented team. There's not a lot of conferences out there where you can say that it goes this deep in their girls basketball. I mean, looking at it, I feel like if Caitlin Hardcastle would have had a better scoring output, she would have been on there from Hawcom as well. She was a baller in that first game for the Hornets. But Ava Gurley there, Gabby Townsend, she was a baller in that Campbell game. And then the 3 from Malden and the 3 from Portersville, those 3 kind of stood out as the best in show, really, the best in the tournament.
Yeah, looking at this group, man, like you say, that's a talented group right there. Very impressed with all of them. And like Charlie said, Hardcastle from Malden, and I kind of also want to mention Taryn Irby from Portersville. She didn't have a lot of points, but she did knock down a couple of big threes in the semi to kind of get them going. And out of this group, just my personal opinion, I'd have to give Hickenbottom the MVP as she, led her team on to victory. And and what's scary about that is she's just a junior, guys. As Coach Kelly Fowler is going to have her back next year, but I just want to applaud all these ladies. They are some ballers. Hallie Jamerson, she's must-see TV. Just can light it up from anywhere. And St. Thornesville, I know they're fortunate to have her, but I'm just want to praise all these ladies as they are some ballers. And congratulations to each one of them.
Yeah, for sure. And, Charlie mentioned Gabby Townsend. She's just a sophomore, man. So there's going to be a lot of great games. Aubrey Hall's a sophomore. Kalia Jones is a junior. So, man, it's going to be an exciting tournament next year as well. All right, guys, that is our girls bracket. Now we'll move on, talk a little bit about the JV bracket, move back to Tuesday night where we had a 1 versus 4. No, it was 6. St. Thornesville got the win, right? No, they were a 5 seed. Okay. So 1 versus 5. South Penn got St. Thornesville. South Penn won this one 65-58. I believe Charlie Duckworth was on the call for that one. Was he, Charlie?
I don't think I was. I my days are getting confused.
Yeah.
My days are getting confused. JV. Yeah, that game, I mean, South Penn coming in the 1 seed, I had those high expectations that I feel like you normally have with a number 1 seed. I saw them once before in the season live against Crothersville. They lost that one. But, I mean, that game with Zenith was a war. And I think it's kind of a stamp on how good Zenith's JV is. Even for a 5 seed, half those players on their JV went up to varsity. Or a few of those players went up for varsity. So imagine them at full strength playing South Penn full strength in JV. Yeah. Who knows what the result of that game is? But obviously they had a few call-ups affect the JV, and South Penn they took it. They are a very, very good JV squad and will be a very good varsity squad in the years to come.
Yeah, they moved 3 freshmen up, but Ibarra and Noblin was knocking some shots down. And St. Thornesville's got a bright future down there, man. South Penn gets the win, moves on to the championship game, where the other semifinal was Carruthersville, a 3 seed, taking on Hayti, the 2 seed. Hayti won that one 61-53. Interesting game, Charlie.
Yeah, Hayti, maybe it was a great performance from Trayshawn Mays. And, I mean, he did not have the biggest basketball stats this year, of course. He was very good on the football field and then kind of played basketball just to play it, right? And his highest scoring performance before was 8 or 10. He had 2, amazing performances. He had a 16 in that first one or 18 in that first one, and then he had 23 in this one. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And
he had a bunch of the first one.
Yeah, he had a bunch of boards too. He was able to will his way in. But Hayti they kind of got into that zone pretty quickly. AJ Jones dropped a big performance off against the Tigers in that one and advanced up to play South Penn in the finals.
Yeah, this game here. This game here. Crosville was just a player short on the offensive end that could have made a difference. Moulton had 7 points, but he had 14 rebounds, guys. He had like 8 rebounds in the first half, keeping Hayti JV off the offensive glass. But I think that Spriggs was the difference in this one, as he had 13 points. And he had 12 rebounds, so he had a double-double. I was impressed with him. The offensive output for Crothersville was just pretty much Mays, who had 23. He had 8 boards. They just didn't have anybody else to help Mays on the offensive end. I think Crothersville played a great defensive game, holding to Hayti to 61. but it was just like I say. I think the difference was just one player, one more horse for Hayti, and I think that was Spriggs. He impressed me in this game here, and Hayti. I wouldn't say squeaked by, but they had the 8-point win and to move on against in this championship game.
Yes, and that is Hayti and South Pemiscot, a 1 versus 2 seed. And what an interesting matchup that was. It was the Demarius Jones show, guys. Jones put on a show for sure as he scored a lot of points. South Pemiscot fell behind early. Hayti had a lead going into the second quarter, and then after that, it was 25-13. And then South Pem led at halftime, 30-29. And then after that, Hayti just couldn't get back in it, man. Props to Logan Powers. Had some big-time threes in that game to stretch the lead out and put Hayti away, man. And them Jones boys, you got 3 of them down there, Anthony, Demarius, and Altravion. And then Sir Rogers in the middle. Woo, they're going to be tough for 3-4 years to come, man.
That second and third quarter was the difference for Hayti, for South Pem JV. As you know, Hayti had a 21-12 lead, showing out in the first quarter. As Hightower done a great job, and AJ Jones and Spriggs as well. But that second and third quarter, guys, Hayti only scored 12 points, whereas South Pem scored 40, and that was the difference in it. But Demarius Jones, man, I couldn't give him enough flowers. This kid is unbelievable. He is must-see TV already, as Coach Boyd alluded to in the interview you had with him, Mark. They're fortunate to have him, and he is a baller. Let me tell you what. And we're gonna be talking about him for the next 3 years. Ain't no doubt about it. And I couldn't be more proud for Coach Boyd and Coach Day as they got a good group there, and they're humble in their ways, and Coach Boyd's just a great human being. Always love seeing him, chatting with him when I get a chance. And congratulations to the JV Bulldogs, as their future looks bright. There ain't no doubt about it.
That's right.
Yeah,
Charlie?
South Pem just straight up dominated most of that game. It was close at points, but it felt like the Bulldogs were just able to kind of keep their own pace. They kind of jabbed away at the Indians in that one, and the Joneses, all of them are just they are a different level of player. I feel like if your last name's Jones in the Bootheel Conference right now, you are an elite JV player.
That's right.
It's a weird happening right now. It's kind of like how Rogers and Jackson dominated in the past few years in the Bootheel Conference, but now it's what the South Pem have coming up with their JV going up to varsity. I know the district push is going to happen soon. So how many of those JV players are going to start getting more and more varsity minutes?
I know one.
Ain't no doubt about that.
I know one.
He's probably suited up and practicing with them right now as we speak. So congratulations to Coach Day and Coach Boyd and the South Pemiscot JV team. Let's look at that all-tournament team for them. There he is, Demarius Jones up top, Anthony Jones also, and Logan Powers, who we said had a great game. All those guys from South Pem, AJ Jones, who just carried Hayti in the first couple games there. And then Spriggs down on the inside. He is a beast for Hayti, and he's just a sophomore, so he's got a bright future as well. And then Thomas Hightower with them little 10-foot shots he was hitting, man. He started out perfect from the field. And then Barr from Cena Torrensville, the kid can just shoot it, lights out. And Trayshawn Mays, big man down low for Carruthersville, just need a little bit more help, like Chris said. And then Zach White from Malden had a pretty good first game, and we didn't get to see a lot of Malden. But, Charlie, give me your thoughts on some of those guys.
I mean, you look at it from top to bottom. You got Ibarra down there from Zenith, the only representation from the Lions. He balled out in those 2 games. He was a very, very game changer type player. And then, I mean, you look at the rest of them. You got Damarius and Anthony Jones. You got Logan Powers. He was able to hit those shots when it mattered, really. And then Spriggs, Kaize Spriggs, he was, I mean, the tallest guy in the tournament probably, or one of the tallest guys at least. He was able to kind of get his frame in there, get those boards, get a couple blocks in there too. In those games, he was able to be a real difference maker in a few of those, or a couple of those matchups.
Yeah, that's, Demarius Jones is my MVP of this group, but a great group. Logan Powers, just a momentum killer. Come out and he'll knock down a three as the other team's making a run, and he's going to be there for a while. And like I say, Sapim is definitely come out of this as they were the best team. There ain't no doubt. AJ Jones, I was impressed with him. Ibarra, he's just down there at Zenith. He's just another one of them guys that can shoot it, and he's probably going to be moving up in the district. I would think, to give another shooter to Coach Kyle Moore on the bench. And Trayshawn Mays was impressive too for Crothersville Tigers. Just doing it all, what seemed like. So, congratulations to this group, as this is the future of the Bootheel Conference, and I'll take any one of them, guys.
Yeah.
Sure, man. All right, that wraps up the discussion on the JV, and now we'll move on and talk about the varsity action, and we'll move back to Tuesday night as well, as we had a 1 versus 5. The Battle of Bootheel. Hayti wins that one 85-80. When they won the regular season 74-55. Charlie, this is a great game, and Crothersville gave it all they got and actually led 80-75 with 1:30 to go, and Hayti closed it out strong, going on a 10-0 run. But props to Lamont Bell for moving up DJ Foster, who made a difference in this game. Charlie?
That game was the one that got away. That game is going to haunt the Tigers for the rest of the season for sure. That was the time if they wanted to make some noise, it felt like. And it's been like this all year, where they get this momentum and then the closing out is the issue. They have had a few games where they're up, and it goes back to last year. In that case, where it feels like they can be up and then it starts chipping away, and then they've lost it. It is a rough one in this one. You had 3 players foul out, and it just so happened to be Bigham, Faison, so your 2 biggest players, and then DJ, who is your fastest player by far. DJ was the only one who was able to really get past Javante Payne in that game, and I just felt like that was the one game, if Crothersville would have had a couple more players up possibly, instead of having to resort to, I love Jermaine. Who is just not been able to get that much playing time this year for the Tigers. And so he came out and just wasn't game ready. Yeah, but it's the biggest moment of basketball for him. And he had to kind of, now I got to be that guy to kind of be in the paint, and it just didn't work out for him. And it just felt like that was the time for Crothersville, and it just slipped away out of their hands.
Yeah, this game, another battle of the Bootheel. Hayti comes away 85-80, but man, what a game this was. I'll start with the Crothersville side. You got to give your flowers to Sammy Bryan, as he had 20 points. Done all he could to help keep Crothersville in this one offensively. DJ Foster, 15 points and 8 boards. He done a great job, and McVeigh as well, who had 12 points, 8 boards. Done all he could to try to keep it. He had a pretty good fourth quarter, as he had 4 points. But moving over to the Hayti side, of course, you got your Combat and you got your LaDon Webb, but I want to give props to Dwayne Grant in this game, guys, as he had 11 rebounds, and he had 5 of those in the fourth quarter, as he ended only with 7 points. But that rebounding in that fourth quarter was the difference, and also LaDon Webb, who knocked down 5 of 6 free throws in that crucial fourth quarter. But Nikolai Combat was on fire in this game. Man, he come out stroking. He had 4 3-pointers by halftime, 25 in the game. Of course, Javante Payne, just when he wants to go, I know he's battling a rib injury right now. You could tell it, but he's one of them players that are special guys because, I've seen, and I'm not going to compare him to any pro players just yet, but it's impressive when you see a young man know what's on the line, and that layup there, toward the end to just go up over everybody when Hayti needed a basket so desperately. I was just so, Javante Payne, he's just impressive, and Hayti, they're loaded. Croswell did all they could, but man, this was just a great game. The only thing that would have made it better if it went into overtime, but I'm sure that Coach Webb's glad it didn't because he was ready to get out of there on this semifinal, and then Hayti done a good job moving on to the final in this one.
Yeah, that was a hard fought victory. I know Charlie and I talked about Javante Payne and the hops that man's got. Man, he's got some spring because he can definitely rebound. Payne had 18 in that game. Combat with 25, like you said. Sammy with 20. DJ Foster with 15. A hard fought battle. And then the other semifinal was the Cena Torrensville and Malden Greenway. Malden had the 2 seed. The Lions, the host team, with the 3 seed, and what a rowdy crowd it was in Zenith all week long. They loved their Lions, and the Lions got the upset 65-62 after Malden won the regular season matchup 68-57. Guys, in that game, Cade Sawyer had 13 for the Lions, Castillo with 11, and then Dobbins had 20 for the Green Wave.
Yeah, that one was a very interesting one right there because Zenith came out. I felt like they were the more ready team, but Malden had that game won earlier this year. But Zenith just was able to, especially with the call-ups that they made, were able to kind of adjust to the Malden style and get it and kind of run the pace of the game. They controlled that game flat out. I mean, it was 65-62 in a game that at one point was, I believe, a double-digit deficit for Malden. I think at one point it was. And Malden started to chip away at the end, but it's just too little time to come back at the end of it.
Yeah, Zenith had a 10-point lead, Charlie. You're right, going into the fourth quarter. But my keys for this game was the balanced scoring of Zenith, with Castillo with 11, Sawyer with 13, Galatian Johnson with 10. But more importantly than that, I think one of the big keys of this game was Drew Fowler did not have one three-pointer. One of the best shooters in this area, and to hold him to know he only had 8 points. But, Deantez Dobbins done all he could. He had 10 in the fourth. He ended up with 20. Actually had 12 in the fourth quarter, ended up with 20. Malden just fell short. If they had a little bit more time, who knows what would have happened. But it was a good win by Zenith and Coach Kyle Moore, man. They did what they had to do. As Castillo, he was 5 for 6 in the fourth quarter from the free throw line. That was big because everything got tight there toward the end. Galatian Johnson knocked down a couple threes. And Lawson Gurley, the freshman, he had 9 points. Just congratulations to Coach Kyle Moore is what happened in the semi, is what everybody in Zenith wanted to happen, as they get to move on, and they moved on to the championship game. And that's the first time they had, like I say, they had been knocked out of the first round 4 of the last 5 years. So to make it to the championship game, they was a lot of high expectations coming into that final for Zenith Hornersville.
Yeah, and speaking of that final, it was Hayti and Zenith Torrensville. Hayti got the win on that one, 78-54. LaDon Webb had a big night with 24 for the Indians, while Nikolai Combat had 16, and Javante Payne, the senior, had 12. The Lions' leading scorers were Castillo and freshman Chase Small, guys. They each had 9. The Lions spread the ball around well, but too much talent on the Hayti Indian side, and they took care of business and got them a Bootheel Conference Tournament championship.
Yeah, Hayti just came out. It was the same thing with the Portageville one. It was a team that's been there, done that sort of. I mean, Hayti won a district in Cena's gym 11 months ago. They have had these big games. Zenith, it was really the first humongous game in the Kyle Moore era, to be exact. And they just came out kind of slow. And Hayti just they came out hot as a pan on an oven or on a stovetop. I mean, they were boiling out there. Nick Combat was hitting some good threes. Then you had Don Webb hit a few threes. I mean, those basketball player of the year, at least for the Boot Hill Sports Network, those two right there are very, very good players. And it came down to the fact that Hayti was, I feel like, the more ready team for that situation. They were the team that was prepared for the moment right there.
I've been to a ton of high school games in my life, but I'm going to tell you, I'll remember this game because Zenith, the fans, the staff, they had everything going before the tip off. You had your little sports center desk there, and I got goosebumps, guys, during the introductions. Doesn't happen very often, but Hayti in the end did what they had to do, and that was quiet the crowd early. Of course, Combat come out with 2 threes, but Jaheim Dunn, he had 6 points in that first quarter. And he's not typically a scorer for the Indians, and he helped out he ended with them 6, but those were 6 big points to help, and Hayti had a 24-11 lead at the end of 1, and you had to get this crowd quieted down, although they were still rowdy because, me and Robert Travis, I was with him. He was the Hayti scorekeeper, as we were right in the middle of the Lions Nation there, and they were so loud. But Hayti did what you had to do. You had to take that crowd out of it because if they hadn't, this game could have been turned out a whole lot differently. But from the opening tip, man, Hayti just showed what they are, and they're going to be tough to beat. I know they got to get through districts, but I'm very high on Hayti. Just the quality of depth that they got on that bench for Coach Webb, Coach Gilmer, and Coach Jamie Jones. They all work well together. I couldn't be more proud for Hayti. As like I say, I've seen a lot of Hayti teams fold like this in the past, Mark, and I'm sure you have too. But they just these young men just would not be denied. Coach Webb would not be denied. And, Hayti did what they had to do, and they rolled in this one. And congratulations to Coach Don Webb. I think his first Boot Hill Conference tournament title in a while, been some years. So congratulations to Indian Nation. They needed this win, and they got it, and they're going to move on into this week on a roll, that's for sure.
Yeah, the schedule don't get any easier for them. But let's talk about, we have seen quite a lot of good teams come through Hayti, Chris. You and I was there for that Final Four run where we got beat in the championship game. Coach Bywell's team there, and they had a shooter, Darius Williams, I believe who it was, Jones, a pure shooter, man. And Don Webb is the same thing, Chris. He might be, by the time it's all said and done, the best shooter ever come out of Hayti.
Yeah, Darius Jones, man, he's one of the best. He's got to go down and is one of the best Hayti basketball players in that long history of Indian basketball. But this team right here, Mark, man, there's nothing that can say, that like I say, they got to get past their district. Then they're probably going to have to battle Van Buren, who's probably going to come out of that District 2, not for certain. But then you got Puxico in District 3. So they're going to need every one of them horses, Mark, to try to make a run at this thing here this year for Hayti.
Yeah, I agree with that. As they got Bernie on the schedule coming up Tuesday, and then a rematch with Zenith Torrensville. So going to be a tough week for the Indians. Now let's look at that varsity all tournament team, guys. And there it is. It is loaded with talent as well. Jack Bell from Porterville. Chris, early on in game 1, he had a pretty good game, Chris.
Yeah, Jack Bell, he's a scorer for Portersville. They rely on him heavy to try to keep them in games. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of all the Portersville Bulldogs. It's just a year where, they're just missing a few things. And Coach TJ Smith and Coach Aaron Bidwell and Jalen Mosby, they're going to keep their foot on the trigger, keep their hand on the trigger, so to speak, and try to get this thing through. As they're in that Class 3 District 1 district, Croswell's got to be the favorite of that district, Mark and Charlie. But Portersville, they'll probably be one of the lower seeds. But don't sleep on them, as you get Jack Bell and Antonio Hickenbottom hot. Of course, you got Braden Jeffries as well. But yes, congratulations to Jack Bell. He definitely deserved to be on this varsity boys all tournament team.
Yeah, he had 25 and I lost to Malden. And Sammy Bryant, what a tournament he had, man. He had 30 points that first game, carried Crothersville to a win, and then 20 against his rival, Crothersville. Give us a little insight on Sammy Bryant. Charlie, I know you go to school with Sammy, so you see him in the hallways.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously he's getting a few offers for football, not getting a lot of looks in basketball, really. But I have 50 points in these two games in a season where it has not been his best. I'd obviously say last season a great year, and then this season he's kind of in that second guy with Quan being kind of the first, but he took over in this tournament, really. And I think there was a few factors of him taking over in it. Obviously, Quan getting a sort of his injury kind of re-hit it or hitting again on him definitely caused a shift in the offense, but just the style that they ran, instead of trying to kind of pace it out and space it out, they were more of just, let's go inside, let's dump it off to someone quick on a baseline cut, kind of like how they were in the past few seasons. They kind of abandoned that style this year for a more like slow, find a three-pointer stance, but obviously it shows which one was potentially the better style. They beat South Penn in the rematch with the Bulldogs on Saturday by playing that fast style instead of just trying to find a three. And I mean, it showed with Sammy being able to get inside score 50 in the two games.
Yeah, next on our list is Gerardo Castillo, guys. This kid had a heck of a tournament. He scored 16 in game one. And then game number 5, where they played Malden, he had 11 points and then 9 in the championship. Guys, I followed Coach Kyle Moore on Facebook, and someone sent him a video of Gary working out after that Malden game. So after a high-intense game, he goes to get some cardio in where he knew he was going to need it for the championship game. And, man, what a workhorse there, man. So congratulations to that young man. And then the sharpshooter who loves to play those Crosville Tigers, Charlie, Parker Carlisle. Man, what a three-point specialist he is. Dobbins from Malden, and then Robert Farmer from South Penn. We had a quiet tournament there, but a pretty good solid first game. And then Drew Fowler as well had a solid first game where he scored 19 points. And then Nikolai Combat, to me, guys, and I'm sure Chris will tell you the same, he is the most outstanding player of this varsity bracket as well. And then Caden Mayberry, we didn't see much of, but he had a first game there where he helped Campbell, and he scored, I believe, 12, 13 points, man. And then Javante Payne, can't say enough about him as a leader for the Indians. And then, of course, LaDon Webb, who stepped it up big time in the championship game with 24 points. So that's our all-tournament team. Congratulations to all those guys. Any closing thoughts on that varsity squad there, guys?
Yeah, I'll speak up. Just thinking ahead. Imagine for South Pemiscott, you got Carlisle, the sharpshooter. Is he a senior or is he a junior?
He's a senior.
Okay, I was hoping maybe him and Powers would be together next year. But they may be in the district, because I would figure Coach Day would bring Powers up. But this group right here, guys, I'd put them up against anybody in the state of Missouri. What an outstanding group of young players. Can't say enough about them.
I mean, absolutely. When you compare this team to a few teams, a few other conference, like all tournament teams, I feel like it matches up well. I think that the Bootheel Conference and the Stoddard County Conference are definitely the shining stars of the little schools conferences down here, obviously. And I think those two teams, like if we had an all-star game between the two conferences, I think it could produce some fireworks out of those two.
For sure, man. And speaking of that Stoddard County tournament, guys, we'll back out and talk about it a little bit. In the finals, they had Puxico and Bernie And just a rematch from a week before. Puxico gets the win on that one. Any thoughts on that one, Charlie?
Yeah, it was 8-8 after the first quarter. And I looked and I was like, man, if it keeps on low scoring like this, I feel like that it's bound for another gritty Bernie win, because that's the way Bernie wins a game. You don't normally. I mean, obviously the Woodland game is a exception to that rule, but you don't normally see Bernie put up 70, 80 points. And I mean, Puxco won a game that was sort of Bernie's style. It was 59-43 the final. It was low scoring, and it was Layden Burchard again. He one of the best players in Southeast Missouri. I'd say bar the best player in Southeast Missouri right now. And I mean, Puxco has that history in Bloomfield. They have that winning streak in Bloomfield from the Christmas tournament and conference tournaments, and it just kept on showing.
Yeah, I watched some of this game, and I was intrigued by the matchup with Acock against Bogus, who's the big 6'7" guy for Puxico. They went at it, and that was a good battle. And you got your Jet Hancock, you got Landy Burchard, but I want to give props to probably the fan favorite in Puxico, Mikey Dry. I mean, he come in. And he come in and spelled Bogus for a little while, and man, and he even knocked the three down. I couldn't believe it, But Puxico, they done what they had to do. I figured that they was going to win this. I think as we all did. Bernie hung with them for a little while, but they just ran out of gas. Seemed like at the end. Congratulations to Coach Fernetti. Another conference championship as they're just racking up hardware there at Puxico. But don't sleep on Bernie. They showed that they belong in this game, and congratulations to them for a second place finish in this tough conference.
Yeah, and Puxico's just getting started in the Ozark Foothills Conference tournaments. Mm-hmm. It got underway last night as we record this on Saturday morning, and Charleston shootout going on right now as well. Let's take a little bit of action in that one, guys. They got some great games planned for Saturday here right now. Leopold and Cairo is matched up. That is a 10-10 guy score at the first quarter action. And Richland just beat Clarkton. But the game I'm interested in has got to be the game of the day, and that is that 4 p.m. game, Woodland and Van Buren. Give us some thoughts on that one, Charlie D.
I mean, that one is such a big question mark of a game right there, because these two teams played separate Christmas tournaments. And both of them were finalists in second place in their respective Christmas tournaments too. And I feel like it is to show, is Woodland that favorite that we think in a Class 3 District 2? Or maybe Scott City, who had a great week in the Scott Miss Conference tournament, maybe they're the favorite now. And it kind of all comes down to this game. If Van Buren wins, it's starting to really look like the Bulldogs have the best shot of winning that Class 2 District 2 as well.
Yeah, you talked about, Woodland and Van Buren, and I'll discuss that. But let me back up a little bit to New Madrid County Central and Bernie. I believe New Madrid had a big win against Cooter last night, and so I'm curious to see how they're going to come into this game against Bernie and how Bernie's going to respond for their loss. But Woodland and Van Buren, they're in both are in my top five. My personal top five. I can't, this game is going to be something to see. We're going to see how it goes. It's probably like Mark said, it's definitely the game of the day for sure there at the Charleston 6-man shootout.
Yeah, that game's going to get me warmed up for that Duke, North Carolina game later on tonight. So it's going to be interesting there. All right, guys, that is the Charleston 6-man shootout. And now let's go ahead. Since we're talking about the Scott Mississippi County tournament a little bit, last night was the finals. It was Chaffee and Scott City. Scott City won that one. Pretty big, guys, 63-39. And Scott City just keeps on rolling, man. They have moved up to 17-3, I do believe would be the record now.
Yeah.
So, and man, what a job Scott City Rams are having and doing this year, man. Charlie Duckworth.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about Chaffee real quick. I had them after they kind of waxed Delta. I had them kind of jump up into that 6th spot, and then they went kind of right back down after Scott City played them. I mean, Scott City is a very, very good team. It just so happens that they have a very, very good team in their district as well, in Woodland. And like looking at the future, who knows what they can do come district time? Because we know it's probably going to be a Woodland Scott City rematch from last year in that district final, and then obviously you get to run into the District 1 champ after that. But it's Scott City is a team that is poised that they could make a run if they beat Woodland in that district. They're a very good team.
Yeah, I was looking at Delta, like you said, or Chaffee. I'm sorry, losing to Scott City pretty handily, and I was a little bit surprised because I really thought Chaffee would. I thought this might be their coming out party here, but it just didn't happen. And like you say, at the end, the cream rises to the top, and so congratulations to Scott City on a big win over Chaffee.
Yeah, for sure. And a conference title, and that one was played at Scott County Central, where there is a lot of state titles hanging up banner-wise and trophies in that thing, man. All right, guys. Now let's check in with Big Dan. Big Dan was on the road this week, and he was going everywhere. On Monday night, he was in Risco for a Tri-County conference matchup between Gideon and Risco came out on top of that one. And then Tuesday night, he was way up in Willow Springs, guys, where he watched the Bears and Liberty of Mountain View go into overtime. Liberty won that one on a last-second three-pointer. And then Wednesday night, he was at the Stoddard County tournament where we just talked about that one. And then on Thursday night, he took off. And then Friday night, he was at North Pemiscot as he watched Risco beat North Pemiscot. So thanks, as Dan has got the boots on the ground right there, guys. He is our inside man, always on the road and at a basketball game anywhere in southeast Missouri, central Missouri, or northern Missouri. All right, now let's talk about our top 10 from last week, guys, and the games that they had. Our number 10 team last week was Bernie. They beat Twin Rivers 84-45, and then they lost to Puxico, as we just talked about. They got a big week ahead of them as they play Hayti on Tuesday, and then Campbell on Thursday and Malden on Friday. So they got a busy week, guys. That's going to be a tough schedule for Bernie. Our number 9 team last week was Risco. They lost to Richland 65-56. Eli Rogers was out in that game, so that's probably going to be a big factor. He's going to be missing the Tri-County Conference Tournament that starts right here on the Bootheel Sports Network Monday. And Risco has that first game in that tournament. We'll put those brackets up here in a little bit. And then, of course, we just touched on Chaffee as they beat Scott County Central and East Prairie, lost in the championship game last night to Scott City 63-39. And they've got Zalma coming up. And then a game against Cena Torrensville, guys, on an afternoon game at like 2:30, which is kind of odd. But then that's going to be a good game. I'm interested to see Chaffee and Cena Torrensville go at it, and then they got Saxony Lutheran. What are your thoughts on that Cena Torrensville Chaffee matchup, Charlie?
It's a real interesting one because Chaffee is coming in off of a weird hot/cold sort of Scott Miss tournament, and Zenith is coming off of a hot and cold Boot Hill Conference tournament. It's two teams that see each other at the right time, possibly. Both of them looking for a bounce back after a big conference final loss. I think that Zenith probably has the advantage in this game because of just how multifaceted they are. They can score on the inside. They can shoot the three. They can either pace you up or space it out. Or, I mean, they can shoot the mid-range too. They can shoot a very good mid-range game. It's just, can Chaffee handle that is the real question.
Chris, you have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, Zenith is, they've been right there on my cusp of top 10 or honorable mention top 10. And I wish Coach Kyle more luck in this one. As Zenith is, they're 12-7, but they're a quality ball club. I mean, they got Castile with that motor that he's got. And I'm very interested to see how this one's going to turn out. I don't know who would win, but it should be a very, very good game. Chaffee and Zenith.
Yeah. And then our number 17 last week was the Delta Bobcats, 15-4 on the year. They beat Kelly, and then they lost to Scott City. They've got East Prairie, Richland, and Marquand Zion coming up this week. And, of course, Scott City was our sixth team. They're going to move up. I believe they're 17-3 now with that win last night. They beat Oak Ridge. They beat Delta. They beat Chaffee. They got a big week coming up this week as well as they play Cape Central, Perryville, and then on the 14th, they play the Sykeston Bulldogs. And Sykeston put a whooping on Poplar Bluff last night, guys. And, wow, that's, we only really discussed classes 1 and through 3 here on the Bootheel Sports Network. But, man, Sykeston is a team that might could win the state here in southeast Missouri. Hey, Ty, that was our number 5 team. Of course, we all know what they did. They beat Crowsville, then they won the Bootheel Conference Tournament. Wins over St. Tornesville as well in that tournament. And then they got Bernie coming up. Should be a great matchup. And then the rematch with St. Tornesville. And then they got a rematch from the Manila tournament where they're going to play Gosnell, man. So, and that was a good matchup down there at Manila Christmas tournament. So they play them Friday night. Interesting week for the Indians. And then the number 4 team last week was Woodland. Woodland beat Richland and, of course, lost to Bernie in that upset of the Starter County tournament there, where the Mules snuck in and went to the championship game. But they rebounded nicely. They beat Dexter and then Advance and Kennett last night. They put a whooping on Kennett. And then they've got Van Buren coming up, as we talked about today, and then Meadow Heights, and then Charleston. Charleston state ranked, guys, even though their record is not even 500, but they are state ranked. So interesting matchup there as well. And then Van Buren was our number 3 team. They beat Lesterville. They've been kind of idle up there. They beat Neelyville as well, and a good one, 85-73. Of course, Woodland today, and then Dora, and then Alton up for them. Our number 2 team was Puxico. We all know what they did. We talked about it. They got Clearwater coming up on the 7th, and they are in that Ozark Foothills Conference tournament as well. And number 1 seed, the team that just keeps on winning and got another win last night, is they're going to move to 21-0 as they beat St. Pius the 10th. And they got a game against Liberty and then St. Vincent on the 14th, guys, on Valentine's Day. So, and St. Vincent has got a great team. Any thoughts on any of those games, gentlemen?
That Valentine, Matt, going to be a lot of hugging and kissing. Or no, actually, there ain't going to be no hugging and kissing in that game.
There'll be a lot of elbows, won't there?
A lot of elbows and pushes, but yeah, that's going to be a good one, man.
All right, now let's get into our tournament we got coming up. We'll talk a little bit about the Tri-County Conference Tournament. We'll have those. There you see the JV bracket, guys. Only 4 teams in the JV. Of course, we all know the Tri-County Conference is a very small school district there with Cooter, Risco, Delta C7, and Holcomb playing there. Guys, I really look for Cooter to come out. They've got some shooters on that JV team, and I figure they're going to win all that. I think they're going to win both. We'll talk about the varsity here in a little bit, but Charlie D, what you got?
Well, it's interesting. I think Delta might have the leg up on this. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Delta might have the leg up here. I saw Cooter a couple nights ago. They played Armorel. I believe it was the 8th. Armorel, Arkansas does a little bit different. It was their 8th grade and their 9th grade combined. They played Cooter's JV. They beat Cooter's JV in that one. And I'm interested to see how Cooter can bounce back from that loss into this tournament. You never want to take a loss and then go into a tournament. I feel like you always want to win one and then get in. And I feel like it could be Delta's right now. If Cooter keeps that momentum after that loss, anything can happen in this JV tournament.
Yeah, I look for Cooter to come out of this one too, Mark, just like you. That Delta C7 Holcomb game should I think have the fancy to be pretty good game. But Cooter's got some shooters, man, and Coach David Mathis, this is nothing new to him. He's been here before, and can't wait for that.
Yeah, Holcomb gets to host that tournament, so you never know when you're on that home court what could happen, man.
Right.
All right, now in the varsity bracket, the number 1 seed went to Risco as they won the regular season over Cooter, who got the 2 seed. The 3 seed is Delta C7. I know Delta C7 played Southland last night and got a win there, so that'll be a rematch on Monday. And then the 4 versus 5, you never know who's going to win there. 4 versus 5 is always the toughest first round game as Clarkton and Gideon do battle there, guys. I got Risco winning over North Pim, and then I've got Clarkton coming out against Gideon. I think Clarkton's a good, solid young team. Juarez is good. Castro, I believe it is, the sharpshooter there, is a freshman. And then I got Cooter coming out over Holcomb, and then Delta C7 over Southland again. And that Cooter and Delta C7 game should be quite the game, as C.J. Wallace will be on display there. And then, of course, I got Risco moving on to the finals, even though they don't have Eli Rogers. I just don't think Clarkton will have enough to beat them. And I got Cooter winning it all, as McIlvain will be back. He didn't get to play last chance as he was nursing a ankle injury. And I think he's going to be the difference in that game between Risco and Cooter.
Yeah, it's this one. I like to call it the Class 1 District 1 conference. Right here, all these teams are Class 1 District 1. I normally with this conference, it's mostly all chalk here up until the finals, and I think that's how it's going to mainly go. I think it's going to be Risco, Clarkton, Cooter, Delta. Then, I mean, there could be some Delta C7 magic there in that semifinals, but I think it's Cooter Risco, the rematch, and I got Risco. I think Risco's even with the loss of Eli Rogers, I think that they are a team that has more of that experience. And Cooter has that experience. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like Risco, from top to bottom, just are a very good all-around team.
My thoughts on this is, something that jumps out at me is Delta C7 got the 3 seed. Man, you kind of wonder what would happen if they would have dropped down to the 4, because they're just on the wrong side of the bracket. As I don't think any of them other 3 teams will beat Cooter, no doubt about it. Risco with Eli Rogers being out. Who would know what would happen there? But as it stands, I think just like Mark said, I'm right along with you. I think the seeds hold true in this one until the final, and I look for Cooter to win this one. I know Coach Mathis, he may be watching, and he probably don't like all this. Everybody picking Cooter, knowing him like I do. But I just call it like I see it. I think it's Cooter's tournament to lose, I would bank on Cooter and Risco being in the final, and I think Cooter's going to have enough to move to win both brackets in this Tri-County Conference tournament.
All right, that's going to be an interesting week as we go from the Lions Den to the Hornets Nest, guys, right here on the Bootheel Sports Network, bringing you opening tip, the final buzzer coverage once again this week. All right, guys, let's get into our top 10s. I got Danny Glasses ready to pull up here. We'll talk about Big Dan's top 10. He's got a tie at 10 between Delta and Chaffee. The Red Devils, of course, beat Delta, so they're both tied at number 10. He got the South Pembina Bulldogs at 11-4. Cooter Wildcats at 8. South Iron, he's got at 7. Scott City at 6. Hayti at 5. Woodland at 4. The Bulldogs of Van Buren at 3. Bunker at 2. And Puxico at 1, guys. So there you go. He moved Puxico into 1 spot after that Stoddard County Conference win. Moves him up over Bunker. Charlie D, what you got, man?
I mean, me and my dad just got done filming Duck Hoops, and he has Duke at 1. I have Arizona at 1. And I feel like it's the same argument here with Bunker and Puxico. I think if you're this late into the season and you're undefeated and you have played quality opponents, you're the number 1 team in the area. I think that Bunker's just a little bit better than Puxico. If they played on A neutral site, Puxco probably takes it, but Bunker just, I think, or right now, the better team. I mean, look at the record. The record shows.
Yeah, they haven't had a bad game, which is unusual. You know, every team has at least one bad game. You definitely can't have any this late in the year, that's for sure. You gonna roll out your top 10, Charlie D?
Yes, I was getting it prepared.
All
So my honorable mentions, I got Zenith off of a great tournament performance. If they would have beat Hayti, it would have been a real messed up top 10. Let's say it would have been really messed up in some way. Zenith would have. It's gonna sound mean, but I probably would have overrated Zenith in a way. But they're gonna be my honorable mentions. Then I got Risco and Cooter in my honorable mentions too. Those two just kind of every year they're just like this. They are neck and neck with each other, and this is just another season where they are. And whoever wins the conference tournament this week is going to be for sure the one that stays in my top 10. Number 10, I got South Iron. They've kind of just bounced back from the mess of a conference tournament that they had. Class 2 District 2 is them and Van Buren. And that's an interesting one, I feel like. South Iron's a good team. They got that experience, too. Number 9, I got Delta. They lost that game to Chaffee pretty bad. And then they came back and they blew out I'm trying to remember in the third place game. I think they won by 20 in that third place game. East Prairie, yeah. And that was a result where I kind of sat there and thought, man, East Prairie is a pretty decent team. That's a interesting result right there. Number 8, I got Bernie. I mean, what a time to be a Bernie Mule. You just upset Woodland, and now you kind of took Puxco down to the wire. Puxco obviously pulled away in that game, but yeah, right now you're looking at Class 2 District 3, and you're thinking, man, we have a shot. For sure have a shot. Number 7, I got Chaffee. The Red Devils, they lost the conference final, but it's nothing that they can really hang their head like low on in this one. They can keep their head high because now they're going into this late season push. They got a great one against Zenith coming up this week that could keep on moving them up possibly. Number 6, I got Van Buren. I'm gonna put Van Buren at 6. Watch this top 5. It gets a little weird here. Van Buren's at 6 only because the top 5 I think are just at a different level than them. It all changes today because number 5 I have Woodland. So whoever wins that game is gonna be obviously the flip flop up there. Number 4 I got Hayti. Number 3, Hayti won their conference, of course. Number 3 I got Scott City. I'm gonna put Scott City at 3 for this week. A dominant performance in their conference, and they've not been talked about a lot. They're 17-3, and they've just flown under the radar so far this year. I feel like it's been enough time. They're my number 3 team. Number 2, I got Puxco, conference title win. They're Puxco. Number 1, I got Bunker. They're 21-0, and there's no signs of stopping yet.
All right, so
for me.
no, not for me either. My top 10, I got my honorable mentions are going to be Zenith. Impressive tournament showing, even though they didn't get past Hayti, but they ain't nothing to hold their heads about, and they got some more season left to go. And so them and South Iron, I got them as my honorable mention too, with a 17-4 record, and they're going to be tough. My number 10 team, I got Cooter. My number 9 team, I got Chaffee. Number 8, I got Bernie. Number 7, I got Delta. And yeah, I know Chaffee beat Delta, but I'm just going by feel here. Number 6 team, I got Scott City. And my top 5, I've got Woodland at 5. I got Van Buren at 4. And I got Hayti at 3. Puxico at 2. And then number 1, I got Bunker. And also congratulations to Bunker player Owen Sanders, who dunked his way into a 1,000-point career. What a way to get your 1,000th point as Owen Sanders. Owen Sanders for Bunker. Until somebody beats them, I can't put nobody ahead of them. 21-0. They're impressive. They're an impressive team. Coach Mathis told us, 3 weeks ago that, watch out for Bunker because they are something special, and he wasn't lying. And so that's going to round out my top 10, Mark.
Yeah. All right, man. My top 10, my honorable mentions are Risco, South Iron, and St. Torresville. My number 10 team, I got Bernie, 13-6. They've got more losses than anybody in the top 10 there, so that's the reason they're number 10. But in saying that, they can beat anybody on any given day, especially if they are draining those 3-pointers, man. My number 9 team is Cooter. Cooter is now 16-4. They got beat by New Madrid County Central last night. I don't know if we mentioned that earlier or not, but so that's you really don't, like Charlie said, you don't want to go into the conference tournament with a loss, but of course, New Madrid a higher class team than the number 1 class Cooter. So be interesting to see how they rebound there. Number 8, I got Delta the Bobcats, 15-4, and then Chaffee at number 7. They are there. Scott City at 6. Of course, before mentioned championship there. Scott City just keeps rolling. I got Hayti at 5, 13-4, 14-4 now on the year. Woodland at number 4, Van Buren at 3, Puxico at 2, and Bunker at 1. So that is our top 10s. Charlie, ready to roll them out?
Yes, I am. This one is a bit wonky. I will say the math does get a little skewed at some points. It's probably my fault for putting.
Hang on, let me get you your drum roll going.
Let me get. Okay. It should appear. I clicked for it to come, and here we go. It's our top 10. Yeah, woo, pew, pew, pew. We got 10 Cooter, number 9 Bernie, number 8 Delta, number 7 Chaffee. All I gotta say, are you happy now? Number 6 Scott City. 5. I know. 5 Woodland, 4 Van Buren, 3 Hayti, 2 Puxico, 1 Bunker. So, I mean, this is a very good top 10 right here.
Solid.
This is a top that is from top to bottom a very elite group of teams.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, my top 10 looks just like this top 10, at least the top 6. Like I say, you can mix in anyone there. We're deep in the season, getting close to crunch time before we start district tournaments. Some big games coming up, like you said, Mark. We'll just see how this holds true. It might be a little change in the weather here for this top 10 coming next week.
All right, it's going to be an interesting week for sure, guys. Before we get out of here, as we record this thing on Saturday, we're going to give you a little Super Bowl prediction, as the Super Bowl will be airing by the time we are airing. Charlie Duckworth, who's your pick, my man?
I got the Seahawks 21-10 is going to be my score. I think that the defense is going to really just kind of give Drake May fits. And that one, the O-line for the Patriots has not really been able to stand up for themselves in this playoffs.
I'm going to go with Seattle as well. Both defenses are going to shine, I think, in this one. I think it's going to be low scoring. I look for there to be probably 3-4 sacks by each team. But I think Sam Darnold, I think it's his time. He's paid his dues, man. This young man has paid his dues, and there ain't nobody that I would like to see win a Super Bowl than him. But I think it's going to be a very entertaining game. My score probably would be something like 24-14.
That's funny. I got 24-17 Seattle. Either way, there's going to be a former Mizzou Tiger getting a Super Bowl ring, so I'm going to be happy either way. I hope Drew Lock or Bryant. So there we go, man. But I'm going to go with Seattle. I just think their defense is just too much, and probably going to put some schemes on Drake May, a couple of key picks maybe.
Yep.
And Seattle seals the deal. All right, that's going to wrap up this episode of Shooting Hoops in the Boot. We will see you at the Hornets' Nest on Monday. Until then, this is Mark Manley, Charlie Duckworth, Chris Brown saying so long for Shooting Hoops in the Boot.